It's perceived as President Muhammadu Buhari's final Federal Executive Council meeting. And the minister says members will work until the last minute. And a subtle drama between the Speaker of the House, Gbajabiamila, and his deputy, Wase, as they disagree on the modality of conducting tomorrow's plenary. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimaloye in Abuja. Let's begin by letting you know that the plane for Nigeria Air will arrive the country on Friday ahead of the commencement of operations. The Minister of Aviation, Hada Sarika, has confirmed this in an exclusive interview with Channels Television. The minister says that a Nigerian airway aircraft will land in the country in 2 days as part of processes to commence operations and unveiling of the delivery process. He promised that the aircraft will be unveiled in Nigeria's colors in fulfillment of all the promises made by the administration in the aviation sector. He however noted that the only incomplete item is the Aerotropolis, which is the airport city and is about 60% complete. According to him, the groundwork has been completed and are looking to conclude work on the airport city by the next administration. Well, tonight,
next is Nigeria Air. On Friday, in 2 days, the Nigeria airplane will land in Nigeria, part of the processes to commence the operation. We will, on that day, unveil this aircraft with delivery and everything in Nigeria's colors, belong to Nigeria Air, and we will proceed to go and do the retrofit and bring back those airplanes. So we have achieved 100% of the roadmap. The only one item that is missing on my table is the Aerotropolis. Even that, the groundwork has been done. All the airports, now the 4 of them, are free zones. They are free zones to allow you to come in there and take advantage of what a free zone is. And that, of course, will enhance and boost the Aerotropolis, which is the airport city. Abuja is sitting now on 12,000 hectares of land, courtesy of Mr. President. And that is where you would see this huge Aerotropolis. And finally, the Lagos, the fan building, where is housing the Lagos office of FAN, which we wanted to demolish, is to give way for Aerotropolis Airport City, where you'll see shopping malls, offices, hotels, and the rest of it, and car parks. That will happen. That I didn't do. I won't be achieved during my time, but it's there on the plan.
Well, thank you so much. You have it, Adi Serika, the Minister of Aviation. Tonight on the program, we'll be looking at what has become an end of an era. President Muhammadu Buhari, who came into office in 2015 with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of steam, votes from Nigerians, those who are waiting to see the change that the APC preached all through 2014 up until 2015 election. Now, 8 years after, President Muhammadu Buhari perhaps will have completed or conducted a final Federal Executive Council meeting. There was a valedictory FEC meeting today. We'll be looking at what is next. A lot of people have thought that, well, after that FEC meeting, the president will disband the cabinet and ask the permanent secretary to take over the affairs of the different ministry. But that did not happen today. We'll be finding out what really went down and some of the issues that have been raised around the Buhari government and some responses that we'll be getting tonight on the program. Plus, we'll be looking at what really happened today on the floor of the House of Representatives. Honorable Gbajabiamila, the Speaker, and his deputy, Wase. They went into a disagreement, a mild drama that I will play out for you. I will be getting a perspective on the experience of what could have led to this kind of disagreement between the two presiding officers in the House of Representatives. This man on the screen, Wase, is vying to be the next Speaker of the 10th National Assembly. Could that be the undercurrent of what we're seeing today? I mean, It's just disagreement on issues of ideology. I will be finding out tonight on the program. So stick around with me, everyone, because we need to serve you with your political roundup stories.
President Buhari has written to the National Assembly requesting the resolution of Parliament to settle priority judgment debts incurred by federal ministries, departments and agencies through the issuance of promissory notes. In the letter read by the Senate President Ahmed Lawan during today's plenary session, President Buhari says the Federal Executive Council on March the 29th, 2023 approved the liquidation of top priority judgment debts by the MDAs through the issuance of promissory notes, which will be redeemed over time through budgetary provisions.
Thus, debt securities have been issued for the settlement of the judgment debts, and the approval of the National Assembly is required for this purpose.
Ahead of the inauguration of the 10th National Assembly, the National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, has warned members-elect against referring to the party's endorsed candidate, Representative Tajuddin Abbas, as a substantive Speaker of the 10th House of Representatives. Speaking in Abuja at a meeting with some members-elect led by Representative Tajuddin Abbas, Senator Adamu says the endorsed candidate of the party for the position of the Speaker remains one of the aspirants. Senator Adamu adds that it is not in the position of the party and its National Working Committee to determine who becomes the Speaker of the House of Representatives without going through an election on the floor of the House.
Please, he is one of the aspirants. He will become a Speaker, no matter our position. If you all say, okay, there will be no voting on the floor, then we can make the Speaker here now.
Mr. Ifatu Obi Okoye has emerged as the new chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, in Anambra State. Mr. Ifatu was elected alongside 29 other members of the state executive who were unanimously elected to pilot the affairs of the party at the state level for the next 4 years. Speaking during the exercise, the national leader of the party and the governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, condemns activities of those that sabotage the party and urges everyone to be committed to the party.
I want to finally commend everybody who has shown interest to lead our party in every respect.
And in the south part of Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State have conducted their chairmanship primaries in the 18 local government councils ahead of the September 2nd, 2023 local government elections. In one of the primaries monitored by Channels Television in Oredo local government council area, Tom Obaseki emerged the PDP candidate after securing all 36 votes from delegates at the event, which was held at the party's office in Benin City, the Edo State capital. The flag bearer of the Accord Party in the November 18 governorship election in Kogi State, Mr. Usman Jibrin, is promising the people of the state that he will improve on the current state of infrastructure across the state if voted as governor. Mr. Jibrin, at a meeting with stakeholders of the party in Lokoja, the state capital, also promised prompt payment of salaries of workers and pensioners, promising to reposition the civil service for effective service delivery. Ahead of the November 11 governorship election in Imo State, Mr. Uche Odunze has emerged the governorship candidate of the New Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, in a substitution primary election held in Owerri, the Imo State capital. He was unanimously adopted as a candidate of the party by the delegates. Mr. Odunze said if elected into office, his government will focus on security, production and creation of jobs for the unemployed youth. A civil society group under the Aegis of Democracy Watch initiative is calling on the president-elect Bola Tinubu not to interfere in the election into the leadership position of the 10th National Assembly. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the national coordinator of the group, Mr. Sanusi Umar, believes that a free election of leaders in the National Assembly by the elected members will put an end to the existing marginalization and fear of domination of other geopolitical zones in the north by others.
We submit, therefore, that if knows, despite immense contribution it made towards the victory of the APC, there should be no justification whatsoever to deny the right to stand election to the same post.
They say that whatever has a beginning must have an end. Well, even the holy books says as much. The one that I read so much, which is the Bible, I remember reading the Quran when I was also young. By the virtue of friendship, we learned that growing up. So how does this relate to politics in Nigeria today? Well, I'll tell you. President Muhammadu Buhari today conducted what could be referred to as a final Federal Executive Council meeting, and he thanked his ministers and said how staff who worked with him in the past 8 years. He's perhaps going to be the first president that has had a consistent group of people that worked with him from day one to the very end. The president, who will hand over to the president-elect Bola Tinubu on the 29th of May at the Eagle Square in Abuja, says that he's proud that he and his cabinet gave their best to Nigerians. He said these at the valedictory session of the Federal Executive Council at the State House Council chamber in Abuja. The president thanked all the ministers for their steadfastness in pursuing the goals of the administration, urging support for the incoming president. President Muhammadu Buhari, however, failed to dissolve his cabinet on many. As expected that will happen. The president would dissolve naturally his cabinet at the valedictory Federal Executive Council meeting, which he chaired in Abuja today. However, the president instead directed his ministers to return to their offices and continue the work. The spokesperson of the government, Lai Mohammed, said, relayed these after the FEC meeting. Take a listen to him.
While we were at the chambers, there was a false breaking news that the council, Federal Council has been dissolved. That is not correct. As a matter of fact, we've been directed by the president that we should all go back and return to our offices. So it is not true that the Federal Council has been dissolved. It's still very much alive. And I'm sure that we're going to work right to the end of the, up to 29th of May. So please ignore the fake news.
Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed. Let's get some perspectives on these. Mr. Femi Adesina, who speaks for President Buhari, is live for us here. Thank you so much, Mr. Adesina.
Thank you. Good evening.
Final FEC? Final days.
It was bound to come.
Either you like it or not, this day will come.
Yes, it will come.
They say power is transient.
Even life is transient.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of lesson of that have you learned over the last year?
It's a lesson I had imbibed since I was mature enough to know that almost everything, including life itself, is transient. Where I grew up, in my town, they do the Egungun Festival. Every young person loves the Egungun Festival. It's usually 1 week, but some years, it takes 2 weeks. Inevitably, it will end. So there's a saying that the Masquerade Festival will always end. So early in life, I learned that lesson, that anything that you like so much will end.
And the big masquerade is leaving the stage now.
Oh, yes,
Buhari,
yes.
your principal.
Buhari is no mean man. He's no mean man. Nationally, internationally, he's no mean man. Yeah.
It's interesting that so the president thought differently. What could be like almost like a tradition that after today, after the valedictory session, the permanent secretaries will take charge of the different ministries, but that did not happen today. Why?
There's no rule. In fact, like they say, the rule is that there is no rule. There's no rule that says a president must dissolve the cabinet after the valedictory FEC meeting. It depends on the president. I've always said it, style is typical to each person. That's the style of the president. He wants them to work to the very last day. We know some presidents who would dissolve after the last FEC meeting. That's their own style. So, style is idiosyncratic, as they say. It differs from person to person.
The president has said that he will go far away from Abuja. And there are jokes as much that he's probably going as much as going to Chad. Even if Nigerians reject him, the people in Chad will accept him. I mean, was that a joke or something?
It was. You know, the president is full of wisecracks. So when I see some people making too much of light-hearted things like that, some people just want to portray the president in an unsavory light. At all cost. President was just, cracking jokes. It's like a wisecrack. He had said it several times that he will retire to Daura, that he will not even stay in Kaduna in the first 6 months because Kaduna is too close to Abuja. He wants his peace. That is the position. I'll go to Nigeria, I'll go to Chad and all that. I just wisecracks, and the president is full of wisecracks.
Why perhaps will anybody think that the president may not be accepted by Nigerians? Has he done so badly?
That is not an issue. It's even not to be considered at all. It's not to be considered at all. The president is a Nigerian. He had always lived in Nigeria. Like he said, when he met the then Prince Charles, who is now King Charles, and that one asked him, do you have a house in London? He said he told him, I don't have an inch of soil anywhere outside Nigeria. So how would he then consider living in Nigeria?
But he has a lot of friends there. I mean, he has
friends everywhere, including me.
You're a very good friend of his. Yeah. But you have an inch of soil outside of Nigeria, do you?
I'll be glad if I do.
Is it a factor that you have an inch of soil out of here, to use your own words?
It will not be illegal or criminal because,
for you to do.
But it's not something I intend to really have. It doesn't thrill me.
You are going to quietly go back to your quiet life. And you perhaps will think that the whalers will be off your backs. You gave those who attacked and those who opposed you, those who have dissenting voice, as whalers. Do you regret saying that kind of thing?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, you need to know how that appellation, whaling whalers, came. Olisa Metu was the spokesman of PDP in our early days in government in 2015. I think he made it a deliberate policy. Everything the president said to oppose it, to oppose it. He could issue 3 statements a day, the needful and the unneedful, the nonsensical and the downright ridiculous. So he issued one which I felt was uncalled for. And then I did a tweet and I said, these people have forgotten that they're out of power. And that for a long time, they would not taste that power again. And I then ended that with whaling whalers. And then those who were opposed to the president adopted that appellation for themselves. They were not the one I referred to originally. I was referring to PDP and his spokesman. But the people assumed that appellation for themselves, and I said they were welcome to it. So that's how it stuck. Whaling whalers. No regrets, absolutely.
I mean, those who thought that was offensive at the time thought that they were opposing the government of the day because of a poor performance and delivery and lack of delivery of the promises that were being made at the time, and they thought that was quite offensive. And the fact that your government was largely very, very strong and worked against dissenting voice. And your government never wanted dissenting voice, and it fought it. Those were the feelers.
But that's not true. With the benefit of hindsight, over 8 years, did this government fight dissenting voices? Not at all. It accommodated every shade of opinion. That tweet about whaling whalers came, I think, July 2015. The government was barely 2 months old, but they were bent on distracting the government. Everything. They were making noise, making noise. That's how.
You think it was noise or the fact that it was a government that was perceived as very sluggish in the start? It came with a lot of steam and a lot of support from a lot of Nigerians when it preached change. And all of a sudden, in the first 6 months of the life of that government, it was barely very inactive, and a lot of Nigerians who
I tell you,
the performance
that appellation
were very frustrated.
That appellation was not 6 months. It was barely 2 months. I think it was July. The history is there on Twitter.
But the question is that if there was a huge expectation on a government that promised change, when the promise changed, I mean, perhaps that change promise should not have been promised. Should not have been
There
made.
is a saying, easy does it. They stumble that run fast. Easy does it. They stumble that run fast. When you have a mandate that lasts 4 years, you program and time yourself. Why do you want to burn yourself out in a week, 2 weeks, just because you want to play to the gallery? No. Remember that President Buhari, as military head of state, had one popular saying, this administration will not be rushed. He used to say it a lot as a military head of state. This administration will not be rushed. He had always been painstaking, methodical, and systematic. And that is the approach he has used till this very end. And all the successes that have been attained were attained despite that style.
8 years, Mr. Additional.
Yes.
For some critics who say this government is a pure failure. How do you respond to that?
They have a right to their opinion.
No, this is not an opinion. This is an assessment.
Oh, yes.
They have the right to assess the government. But how does the government assess itself?
Assessment comes from opinion that you hold. Some other people will have their assessment, and you will wonder, are they assessing the same thing? We have just come with a fact sheet that we have published into a book. When me, participant in the administration, that knew all those facts, read the fact sheet myself, it astounded me. The government worked. The government achieved a lot. Anybody that now says nothing was achieved, no quarrel.
Mr. Additional, I'd like to get some kind of examples to be able to bring on the real issue. And I assume that if the temperature in this room is too uncomfortable, either too cold or too hot, you probably will exit. Things became so uncomfortable for a lot of Nigerians that in several countries like the US and the UK, Nigeria is perhaps visa to Nigerians to those countries was almost 10 times in some countries. To the point that, embarrassingly, some countries have refused to give visa to Nigeria, promised that visa will not go to Nigerians bringing their dependents to their country. It got so bad that a lot of Nigerian skilled professionals are living in Nigeria in droves because the indices of the economy are not just there. Unemployment rate, over 33%. The inflation rate went from single digits when you guys got into office. It's gone to double digit now. It's gone over 21% now. And if you look at all of those indices, based on the promises that you've made, and those who said that your government has largely failed, would they not be right or wrong?
You have made the question so convoluted.
I'm not convoluting. I'm just telling you that the indices are hard to give you. Just remember,
isolate the issues one after the other.
Let me now summarize it for you.
Isolate.
And I'm bringing it to the fact that people want to leave this country. Good. I'm bringing the fact that economy is not in good shape. Just respond to you. Hold on. I'm telling you that things are not really looking good for Nigerians. They want to get out at the first opportunity. Economy is not looking very good. Unemployment rate is very bad. Security is very bad. And so how would you then say that your government has performed?
Let's start with security. Where we are today, is that where we were when this government came? When this government came, there were bombings everywhere. We could have 5, 6, 8, 10 bombings in one day. Well, wait.
No, because
wait, let me make my point.
I'm sick and tired of hearing that same narrative.
I'm sick and tired of you hearing that same question you asked.
No, because I will keep asking Mr. Additional until
and I will keep answering you.
No, because then, you know why I'm sick and tired? Because you look at the numbers of people that were killed at the time you're talking about, compare the numbers of people that are being killed in Nigeria at this time, and you wonder if you and I live in the same Nigeria.
You have to compare. You have to compare. When President Buhari came, it's a benchmark. When he is leaving, it's another benchmark. Can you compare the two? No, you cannot. You cannot. When he came, there were 17 local governments, minimum, under occupation.
How many are down deaf now?
Not a single local government is under full occupation.
By the estimation of the federal government?
No, by the military.
Of the locals there?
Last night, the military had the regimental dinner for the president. Chief of Defense Staff said it, that not an inch of Nigerian soil is under occupation. You may have infestation in some places, but occupation as at, like that of 2015, when they had hoisted their flag, when Emas had run away from their palaces and Boko Haram was sitting on a stool. Boko Haram was running the local government. NYC could not hold orientation. Roads had been closed. No, that does not happen again. It does not happen. And anybody that wants to be fair, just, will know that there is a world of difference between 2015 and now. We're not saying that the security challenges are all eradicated. No. But they are mitigated to a large extent.
As you said, and one of the reasons why I said I'm sick and tired is
Mr.
Femi, just a moment. You've designed a template of answer, and that's why I said I'm sick and tired, because those templates, as soon as you're saying it, sound like a deja vu in my ears, because these are the same templates of answers.
Keep asking the same questions.
But we'll keep asking those questions until we get the right answers.
And I'll keep answering you that same way.
If your government is not living up to expectation,
4 or 5 days
it's my constitutional duty as a journalist to keep asking
after May 29, I have no
answers.
Business to speak about these things again. But till May 29, I'll give you those same answers because they are true. And when something is true, turn it, twist it, it remains the truth.
And look, tonight I salute the gallantry of our military men and the effort of those who've laid down their lives innocently to defend this country. In no way to undermine, but what the question Nigerians will want to ask, especially if you hear the voices of those who've lost their family, their ones, in some kind of insecurity in the country. Ask people in southern Kaduna today. Ask people in some part of Yobe. Ask people in Plateau State where there are clashes between locals there. I mean, they will wonder whether Mr. Additional lives in the same Nigeria that
you are mixing.
These are insecurity, Mr. Additional.
You are mixing
people
things
are dying.
Hey,
why
did you ask me to come to this studio?
Because I want you to answer questions.
And you are not allowing me to answer.
I'm asking you because you're not really answering the question.
You are not allowing me to answer.
Please go ahead.
You have just muddled up things.
I'm putting out the security issue that you are raising.
Can I respond?
Please go ahead.
You are muddling up things.
I'm not. You are not answering the question.
I'm answering and you are
I'm not getting the right answers. Go ahead.
You are not getting the answers you want to hear.
Nigerians want to hear.
No, you can't assume that that's what Nigerians want to hear. That's what Shewo Kibaloye wants to hear. Now, let me talk.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You talked about Southern Kaduna. You talked about Jos. These are endemic problems in the country, endemic problem areas. Those are not the same thing as insurgency or banditry. Those problems have been there. Southern Kaduna matter started as far back as 1980. 1980, and it had occurred almost every year. The Jos crisis has started since under Babangida, and it occurs almost every year. Remember that even President Wase declared a state of emergency in Plateau over Yelwash and Dam crisis. These things are endemic. You now cannot begin to cite them as problems of the Buhari administration. That will be disingenuous.
Have you landed?
We are talking.
Okay, so the president promised he's going to fix insecurity. And the nature of insecurity was not, he wasn't saying, I'm just going to fix insurgency in the Northeast. Nigerians who voted for him thought that their lives, they will be secured under the Buhari government. And that is a promise they are holding on to. Whether it's a clash between brothers and sisters, insecurity is insecurity. As he's killing one, another is rearing his head. And the Nigerians are looking up to the man who made the promise. And that's the question I'm asking. People are still dying.
Now
does that take away the fact that he promised to secure Nigeria?
That question you have asked me probably over 1,000 times in the past 8 years. If you keep asking it, I'll keep answering you with the truth. And the truth is that insecurity is something to fight in any country, all countries of the world. No country of the world can sit back with insecurity. And no country of the world will get to a position that it will say, all is over with insecurity. You must always be alert. Even America, that suffered 9/11, it can't say all the troubles are sorted out now. It must still be alert. So that's what every country needs to do, including Nigeria. Security will always be an issue. Every government must be alert to it. And I'm saying that there are newfangled insecurities like insurgency, Boko Haram, and all that. Even banditry is new. But there are some that are endemic. Fratricidal killings in Kaduna, particularly in southern Kaduna, problems in Jos. Those ones had been there. Many governments had tackled that same matter.
And if you hear the story, Mr. Additional, of some people in the northwestern region of the country who are still paying taxes to bandits so that they can survive.
Yes, that's banditry. It's one of the new dimensions. When President Buhari came, insurgency was the main thing. Banditry was not there. Banditry was a new dimension that came. And it's not unlikely that it was some of the dislodged insurgents that became bandits.
Perhaps the final question I'll be asking, a lot of people, I saw a tweet today and I was laughing when there was a letter being read on the floor today that the president is asking for monies to be paid for cases that procured under the... And said, I hope Buhari doesn't want to spend the old money left in the coffers before he leave nothing for the government. So that optics gives some people feeling that why is the president making all of these approvals at the last minute? Another one today being read on the floor today and making last-minute approvals and last-minute appointments. Shouldn't have that been deferred to the incoming government?
A wicked man owes and payeth not. That's what the good book says. When you owe and you refuse to pay, the Bible says you're a wicked man. If government is owing all those judgment debts, why shouldn't it pay? It should pay. And then what do you say last minute? The government has a mandate from a time to a certain time. Wow. That mandate was from 2019 to May 29, 2023. So the government is working.
On a final note, and just quickly, Mr. Additional, Festus Keyamo, SAN, today raised an issue that the Minister of State is not in our constitution, and raised that in his own speech. What was the response of the president to him?
No, there was no response.
The president left it?
Yes, yes. The president did not say a word about it. But I'm sure it's noted. It will be in the FEC minutes. All right. Yes.
Femi Additional, a soon-to-be former advisor to the president.
Looking forward to it.
Just like your principal, who is not...
In my head, I have finished.
You have finished. But we still have to have you here today. But thank you so much indeed, Mr. Additional, for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Despite sometimes very troubling the kind of answers you gave in the last 8 years. But then, you've tried your best, I guess. Thank you so much indeed for coming.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, we'll take a break, everyone. And when we come back, we'll be dealing with what happened today on the floor of the House of Representatives. And we'll be getting some insight from a very experienced lawmaker. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll bring you the latest developments from the Hallowed Chambers of the Green Chambers in the Nigeria House of Representatives, where a heated bickering between the House Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, and his deputy, Idris Wase, caused quite a stir. In a dramatic turn of events, the House of Representatives witnessed a heated exchange between Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila and Mr. Wase in today's plenary session. The disagreement, which unfolded before the eyes of the nation, raised eyebrows and sparked some concerns about the unity and effectiveness of our legislative body. Tensions reached a boiling point as both the Speaker and his deputy engaged in a heated verbal exchange over a contentious issue capturing the attention of lawmakers and observers alike. The disagreement between the Speaker and his deputy underscores the need for effective communication. Well, this is going to be about, or was about, tomorrow's plenary, and the Speaker was informing the House about the need to attend to the National Institute for Legislative Studies event tomorrow, and he says plenary will be adjourned at 2 p.m., which the Deputy Speaker disagreed about. But let me allow you to listen to some of the exchanges between both men.
I want to make some that we should do our functions. Those who have the interest to go to ministry can they have the right to go there. But our main primary function in this parliament is to make law, and our citizens should be more priority to us. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Perhaps, yes, we don't appreciate the importance of bills like some of us do. I didn't
mention to you, Mr. Speaker, that I was part of those that went to put so I have every information and idea and what it's.
It was set up, if I may, it was set up by the listed institutions by statute. We are not adjoining the House to go to bills. What I said was, let's try and make it light and leave here by 2. If you want to do that there, we will do our work, but we will adjourn this House at 2 o'clock. I will witness bills because it is important to me.
The parliament is about us, not about I. Thank you very much.
You heard it. Let's get some perspectives on this one. I mean, I'd like to bring in some perspective also to these because the Deputy Speaker, Idris Wase, is running for the next Speaker of the 10th National Assembly, and it doesn't look like his principal, the Speaker, is supporting him. There are those who say the event of today is not even in fact isolated. This happened about last week when there was issue about induction going on, and the Speaker wanted to do in like manner, but said, I mean, the Deputy Speaker had also, at that time, raised an objection saying if the Senate was not postponing the plenary because of induction, the House should not. Well, let's get to hear some perspective on this one. Dr. Samson Osage is a former minority whip in the House of Representatives and the chairman of the African Bar Association. He joins us live in Abuja. Thank you so much, Honorable. It's good to see you. I'm very sure you heard what happened, the exchanges between Speaker Gbajabiamila and Deputy Speaker Wase. Have we seen this kind of disagreement between the two presiding officers in the past?
Thank you, Seun, for having me. I think in the tradition of the parliament, disagreements and agreements are very important tools of the legislators. And I do not think that there is much to this than meets the eye. As far as I'm concerned, the proposal by Mr. Speaker to have the House adjourned by 2 o'clock in order to be part of the commissioning of the National Institute of Legislative Studies, the permanent site, was a very thoughtful one because the institute was established by the National Assembly itself. It is an institute that is established to create opportunity for the capacity of legislators and legislative staffers, to be enhanced so that they can contribute to the process of legislation and national development much more effectively. It has also metamorphosed as of 2017 when it became the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies and charged with the responsibility to provide capacity building for all democratic institutions in Nigeria. As between the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, these are the two senior officers, two most senior officers of the Parliament. They had disagreement over when to adjourn the House and when not to adjourn the House on this occasion. I believe it may just be a matter of communication. And as a matter of fact, maybe because of the seasons, because of the politics going on about the leadership quest by various interest groups in the House, they may not have had time to have a pre-meeting before sitting, and that is where the Speaker will usually brief the principal officers of the House as to what proposals are on the table for the plenary and, of course, for the next day. I think it's a breakdown of communication. Otherwise, there is no basis for such disagreement in the open between the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. So I dare say that even though this looks unprecedented, I'm not too sure that I witnessed an open disagreement between Speaker and Deputy Speaker in the 6th and the 7th Assembly. I'm not too sure I witnessed any. But again, disagreements and agreements are very important tools for debates, discussions, and the process of legislation.
So let me bring, because, I mean, you are the one that have been in the Alo chamber as a lawmaker, and you understand that pretty much, you're also a lawyer, so you understand how this thing works, especially in a season where body language is now part of the readings in our policies. So give me an understanding. Usually, traditionally, what we find happen is the speaker with the deputy speaker and all their principal officers, they march into the chamber, and you hear the bearer of the mace say, "Mr. Speaker," and everybody rise, and which gives a signal of the beginning of plenary. But recently, this is the body language that has happened. Mr. Speaker comes in, and you see the deputy speaker come from the other end. This is unusual, but some people will say it might not be against the rule. Well, I mean, is that also some anomaly that it's against the usual traditional practice in the chamber?
Well, let me just inform you from the very onset that when the life of a parliament is winding down, the usual tradition and practice, what we witness, is that legislative activities are usually not too coordinated. Not too coordinated for several reasons, because members are making arrangements on how to exit the chambers for those who are not coming. Even for those who are returning, they have to exit and have to be readmitted back into chambers. So you do not find some coordination, towards the end of any parliamentary assembly. So it is not uncommon to find the speaker come in and later the deputy speaker come in at this point in time. We have a few days in the life of the parliament. Two, if you want to infer or imply that the disagreement may be arising as a result of contest for the office of the speakership, well, it may not be unlikely. Politics is all about interest. And if anyone finds that his interest is not being catered for by certain quarters they expect, it can also inform their reaction. But on this score, I do not think that this is anything too serious for us to worry about. The powers of the speaker, the functions of the speaker, of course, the duties and functions of the principal officers are spelled out in the standing orders of the House of Representatives. The speaker had control over the parliament, is to preside over all debates, and of course is to properly ensure that there is decorum on the floor of the House. And of course the duty of the speaker is to perform the function of the speaker in the absence of the speaker. So it is rare to find this type of disagreement. But like I said, it is just a matter of communication, and I think it's nothing serious. But it must be emphasized that the commissioning of the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies is such an important event in the life of a parliament, particularly parliament, that has brought it to fruition. That project has been going on for the past almost 11 to 12 years. And if it is happening at this point in time, and I think it's something that both the speaker and the deputy speaker, and indeed the entire House, had to celebrate, because it is an institute that have come to provide capacity building for all democratic institutions, and it is very important. And it's important because it will impart on the kind of legislations that are going to be coming out, even the 10th Assembly and even going forward. So I think it is a ceremony, really, where the speaker has suggested that members should endeavor to be part of. A lot of members of that House have graduated from the Institute for postgraduate programs, and it enhances their capacity. So I do not think that there is much to be worried about the disagreement. People can openly disagree. After all, we can't think the same way.
So I mean, it's good. I mean, it's normal and human to disagree, but it's the undercurrent and the implications of the disagreement that is really a bone of contention here. And Honorable Osage, this is not the first time this kind of disagreement in a like manner is happening. It happened about a few days ago, about last week or 2 weeks ago. Similar thing happened when an adjournment is being planned because of induction. But I'm looking at what these implication of these for the Nigerian people. These guys are there to make laws for Nigerians, for governance of Nigerians. Now, the question is, it also affects how the leadership of the next National Assembly will be. Politics that have gotten the attention of the entire nation. Give me an understanding, Honorable, what you think could be the major implication, because this race, I'm not sure, has been this intense since 1999.
Well, I'm sure you want me to speak on what I'm not seeing. Maybe probably because Idris Wase is running for speaker and some other members are running for speakership. So the party has zoned the positions to various zones, and some zones are not happy, and that may be the reason. Well, like I said earlier, it is important to note that politics is about interest. And Idris Wase is a very experienced lawmaker. The speaker is a very experienced lawmaker, and they understand how the politics of parliament works. It's about the numbers. At the end of the day, it will be decided by the numbers that any of the contestant gets, on the day of inauguration. So whatever undercurrents there might be, which can be read into why you have this open disagreement, for me is immaterial. And it is also immaterial to the functions of the legislature at this point in time. I mean, which law are they going to start now that they will finish?
Honorable, I'm actually bothered.
If there are,
Honorable, Honorable, I understand that these undercurrent have their own implication in the general politics of the National Assembly. But what I'm bothered about is the manner in which the ruling party APC is going about the politics of the leadership of the 10 National Assembly, and whether or not that has any kind of implication and in the manner in which the affairs of the 10 National Assembly will be conducted that could affect their delivery to the promises to the Nigerian people.
Now, I teach political parties and parliamentary politics at the National Institute of Legislative Studies. Now, you must understand that in a constitutional democracy, where political parties are the organs that put candidates forward for election into both executive and legislature, they must make attempts, to play a role in who holds what position in the parliament. But ultimately, it is the parliamentarians themselves which, according to the Constitution, that must elect their leaders. So the role the party is playing, you heard the national chairman of the party saying yesterday that it is not within their powers to elect or select leaders for them. If they make suggestions, like they have done in terms of zoning, then it is left for members, of the parliament to decide what they want. This is not the first time. And I have not witnessed any parliamentary section in which the ruling party have not made any attempt, to suggest who should be speaker and who should not be speaker. But the ultimate decision of who becomes speaker and deputy speaker of the House or the Senate lies with the majority of members of that parliament. Now, talking about the implications of this, yes, it may be seen as something that can lead to unnecessary animosity, unnecessary disunity among members. But I believe that the 10th National Assembly, that will come on stream as from the 13th of June, must do things differently, looking at the situation that the country is at the moment. Issues of national interest that borders on major issues of the economy must be the one that should be their focus, and they must leave unnecessary partisanship for the interest of the nation. So this is going away as far as I'm concerned, and the next assembly must take a cue from what should develop the country.
Dr. Osage,
about unity.
Yeah,
and
Dr. Osage, so there are two issues that I'd like you to quickly look at. So when you mention national interest, and I mentioned, I was asking you in respect of the decision of the APC and the manner in which they are going about the politics. So issues of zoning comes up. Issues of the fact that this looks like the executive arm of the APC is trying to put his hand over the activities of the parliament. So there are going to be implications. There are those who are disaffected already, about the issue of zoning, especially we are hearing much of this from the north central region of the country, and the fact that if there is an executive that had suggested a leadership to the National Assembly, I mean, it's bad enough that National Assembly is being described as a rubber stamp. It would then go down to the fact that the National Assembly is at the beck and call of the executive. Where lies the issue of separation of powers? Can you deal with these two issues on the matter of the separation of powers and rubber stamp parliament, and also the issue of zoning, which has come up in these arguments?
Well, on the issue of zoning that the party have done with respect to the leadership of the National Assembly, I think that a lot of rethinking need to go into it, and those who are agitating have a right to do so. It is their right to complain if they are not taking into account in the zoning arrangement that have done. It is their legitimate right. So I will not say that because the party have said it, then they cannot complain. No, they have a right to complain. Again, on the issue of whether the executive is trying to, interfere with the running of the executive, I think that what we are seeing for now is that it is the leadership of the party, of course, that includes the executive and even the leadership of the National Assembly. And I dare say, which at this point again was emphasized yesterday, if you listen to Senator Abdullahi Adamu, the chairman of the APC, he said that they don't have the power, the party does not have the power to elect or select a speaker for the House. Ultimately, the members have to, do their own election. It has happened in the past. So it is for the members to organize themselves in a manner that they think is better for them and will better make them serve their respective constituents and at the same time, the interests of the nation. So it is not uncommon to find political parties that have majority of seats, to want to suggest to each members that this might be their preferred candidate or this zone might be their preferred candidate, their preferred zone. But it is now left for the members to decide who they want to support. All right. If they feel the candidate of the party is good enough for them, I think there is nothing wrong with it. But if they don't, they also have the right to vote at the end of the day. So as far as I'm concerned, it is in following the tradition that we have seen in the past that we are not doing. But the lawmakers must be sure of what they are coming to do in the parliament at the end of the day.
It's good to hear your very insightful thoughts there on the National Assembly politics, and we hope that the undercurrent that we're seeing and the body language is just on the surface and it will affect or impact on the governance and policies of this country. Dr. Samson Osage is a former minority whip in the House of Representatives and the chairman of the African Bar Association. Thank you so much indeed, and it's good to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Thank you so much. Well, that's how we draw the curtains of the program tonight. Many thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7 p.m. God bless Nigeria.